Want to welcome everybody today to Function4 webinar. This is the fifth that we've done, I think, over the last 6 months now. And we think we've learned some things as we've done it. I think everybody is webinared to death by this time. I know we've gotten our share, but we wanted to make one that was relevant to a lot of the conversations that we have with our customers today. And it's something Ross and I have talked about for some time, and now we've gotten around to kind of organizing the different pieces of what we've done for customers in the past and some of the challenges that we've seen customers have too. So the title of it is How Digital Transformation Relates to Process Improvements. So Ross, who is our process improvement specialist, I want to welcome him. He's been integral into the development and the furthering of a lot of the types of offerings and things that we're going to be discussing today. So Ross, it's good to have you.
Thanks, Brad. Good to see you. Don't see you.
I think we see each other enough. We obviously we have a big remote force, like a lot of you that don't come into the office every day. Ross and I are one of the few, a couple of the few that are in here every day. So we get to see each other from a distance a lot. So here we are. And one of the things that we're going to start off with, Ross has got a poll question that it'd be great if everybody could give us an answer to.
Give everybody a few seconds to answer this, and then.
All right. And has it processed for you there, Ross?
Yeah. Then we'll show the. So it looks like 75% of people on the webinar said they do have some type of initiative, and about a quarter of people said no.
Good. Very good. So yeah, this isn't to identify all of the holes in processes that organizations have. This is to help supplement, because we know, particularly over the last 6 months, there's a lot of things that businesses have had to address, and putting processes in place has definitely been one of them, with people working remotely or potentially with less staff too. So one of the obvious things that has happened over recent years is the never-ending flow of waves of information that are coming into organizations. We've been able to pull some data together that's going to be quite startling here. And I'm going to let Ross get into some of these.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows there's just being a ridiculous amount of information created now. The one from this page that really caught my attention would take 181 million years to download everything off the internet right now. Also, 90% of the total information created was created in the last 2 years. You know, that's crazy to think of. I mean, 4 years ago, we were still creating tons of information. So the other part was, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme of this webinar, is structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. So 51% of all data is structured. And so that's your information in databases, in your ERPs, your Salesforces, your accounting systems, things like that. Your unstructured information is all that information that's in your desktop, in your email, in random places on web pages. And then semi-structured is that information that is unstructured in those same places, but it has some information tagged in, or maybe it's in a document management system with some metadata attached to it and different information like that.
So what does that create at times for organizations is potential chaos. And I know Ross has been poking fun at me at the picture that I chose here.
For modern art that came out.
The first thing I thought of is when somebody, when you go to maybe an opening of an art studio and people are standing around and looking at the pictures on the wall, and I'm thinking this one to me just looks like chaos. So that's the reason I chose that. But in our organizations, where does that come from? Paper, email, file folders, different databases, and now obviously web content is becoming a vital part of organizations' information. also.
Yeah, and so here's another page of some statistics. You know, one that catches my attention is that 8 out of 10 people say they have to recreate existing documents because they can't find them. 46% of people say they have a challenge finding documents. I mean, I know I can be unorganized when I'm not putting it into a system. And Brad's over there shaking his head, laughing at me. And, yeah, you know, and when you're storing documents, I think of things in one way. Brad thinks of something in another way, and then you have your different departments think of things completely different. So you're going to have them mislabeled, and that can really, when you don't have a structured system, can cause problems with where your information is.
Yep. And then Ross, I think we have another poll question here quickly that we wanted to get some background from the group.
Yeah, we just wanted to see, where do you organize most of your information? We gave a couple options of email, shared drive, personal computer, or document management system. About 30 something seconds there.
Very good. It's amazing with all the different choices you have now to find and store information where it resides. I know that's one of the things when we start conversations with an organization is I don't think they really realize all the different places that they have information stored.
Oh, so 38% say shared drive, 38% say personal computer, and then 25% say document management system. So I know Brad didn't vote in this poll because his would be email.
I have a very robust folder structure in email. So what we're going to get into now is we're going to talk about 4 specific areas when we talk about what digital transformation means and how you can improve processes. We're going to focus on 4 areas. We're going to talk about advanced scanning and what advanced scanning means. We're going to talk about content management and what that means. Process improvement, how you can set yourself up to improve processes and not rely on people, just good people, but building processes to help those people do their job more effectively. And then the last one is going to be the business intelligence or data mining once you've organized that information. So first part we're going to get into here is the scanning piece. So when we set systems up for organizations, particularly from MFPs, probably the most likely is to set it up to scan to email. And people want their preset destinations loaded in the machine so that they can scan that information, that location. Scanning the folders is probably the next most likely, then followed by desktop. Maybe they have it set up to just scan the documents to the desktop and then move them from there. And then hopefully there's not a lot of people still using scan to jump drives. I know MFPs, one of the big craze at one time is it had the USB port on the front of the machine and you could scan to jump drives. In the advent of all of the cyber crime and things that have taken place recently in encrypting data, I know a lot of organizations have shut those down, but we do occasionally still see that too. So here's some interesting statistics when it comes to naming conventions and scanning. 82% say it would be benefit to have a system that would automatically name or tag documents. 93% can't find documents potentially because they're badly named or tagged. If you have an open system, maybe like a SharePoint, and not knowing how people are organizing it. 82% find it challenging to name or tag documents, so it's easy to find later. Have you developed something that is repeatable and everybody recognizes? And then 73% say their organization doesn't have a clear guideline on how to label documents that go into their system. So we see this on a regular basis, particularly when we're setting up scanning. These are the challenges that are pretty common for us to see. So if we look at all the steps when it comes to scanning a document, particularly into email here, is you gather and sort your documents to get them in a format that you have them compiled in the PDFs that you're going to get on the other end, how you want them. You scan them, you open the email application, you then open the attachment, you convert it then, if you can convert it into a searchable PDF, copy and save the PDF in a folder, and do you rename or move it or share it. I know The automatic naming conventions on scans when they come through MFPs is a 16-digit random number that may name the device that it actually is coming from. I know that that's not real helpful for people on the other end, that you're going to have to change that. But that's a lot of steps just to scan a document. So Russ, we're going to get into advanced scanning here.
Yeah, so some of the things we see and help customers do with advanced scanning is, OCR, optical character recognition. That's where you're actually scanning the document. You're making it searchable. You can do things like zonal OCR. So let's say one of the big ones is an invoice. You can start pulling that information off invoices, and then you're automatically doing some of that data entry we're talking about. Trying to avoid some of that human error. We can also, connect to databases. So you pull off that information from that invoice, and then you match it up with something into your accounting system, and you can start doing some three-way matching and different things like that. You can also start to lock down naming conventions. So instead of having it sent to someone's email and then they name it and then they put it somewhere, you can actually lock down on how people name a document. So you get some of that structure and standardization. And then the routing part, and this is probably one of the bigger parts, instead of it going to your email, you can, that last slide where we're talking about all the steps, you can start to skip some of those. You can directly scan into OneDrive or SharePoint or your accounting system or your document management system. And so there you're, again, once you're doing that, you're locking down that naming and then filing it away and not giving anyone a choice, and you're keeping documents from being lost. And you can also use barcodes with that zonal OCR, and you can read that barcode, and then you can start routing information that way.
Yeah. So when it comes to actual print devices and the multifunctional devices, not a lot has changed when it comes to the actual output as far as the printing and the copying and those types of things. The biggest changes that have been made in recent years is the applications that you're able to add to the machine that allow you to scan and route information effectively. And those same applications can take native information. If you see here on the left, is what they could do is they could take obvious paper files and information, scanned information. Maybe it comes in a fax, maybe it comes in an email, maybe it's created from databases, and it can assign information there like OCRing the text and turn it into a searchable PDF. A lot in the legal field that we see is using bait stamping to identify documents and what pages certain information is on. You can do image enhancements by rotating the document, shrinking or enlarging information for it all to be fit on the same size view. You might want to do barcode recognition, like Ross said, where you actually have processes or workflows or identifications associated to information by having barcode on there. You can encrypt data, potentially if there's social security numbers, credit cards, numbers, things like that, that you don't want freely being able to scan and route it around the organization. You can set that up. And then you can also change the format and convert it into actual editable PDFs, Word documents, Excel, things like that, and then be able to route that information based on what you want to do with it to servers or to emails or other different types of media. You can do that. The other thing that becomes very powerful with some of these applications is how do you do the zonal character recognition on here too. So this example, they're using a W2. So what we've got here is certain information was identified to be extracted from the hard document and then inputted into, maybe it's a HR file system or potentially an accounting system that you want that information pulled out. Like Ross said earlier, one of the most common areas we see this is with invoicing and POs, and then being able to automate that process so that it's picked up in the accounting programs without people having to manually type and pull out that information to enter it in there.
So yeah, now we're going to talk about content management. You can also call it information management, document management, data management. There's a lot of different ways to say it, but we want to talk about connecting your databases, how you store information in email, how you make it easier, make that information there more accessible to more people. how we use the power of Office 365 and integrate with all the different systems in there. And then that scanned information that's coming into your business and where it goes and how we do it. And then your folder structure systems that we've been using for about the last 20 years. And how can we use all these systems and really empower your information for you?
Yeah, very good.
So here's some more statistics. Top 4 systems used to store and manage data. We put the question up earlier. No one said email, but I guess everyone's doing much better here. But here it's saying that 69% of people use email as their main document management system. It is the least equipped system to manage large volumes of information, but it's the most prevalent. The other thing we're saying is that 81% of people say they cannot access information on their mobile devices. With today where people aren't working in the office, they're working in at their home, at coffee shops, and just away from each other, you need to have that mobility. And so we want to talk a little bit about that too.
Very good. Yeah, the one that stands out to me obviously is the email, and I think of a story, Ross, of one of our longtime customers that when they're in the legal field, that when we took a look at how they were organizing information, there were 2 partners that had a lot of tenure, and all of their information was in their email inbox. And one of the paralegals or assistants, their sole job was to look for case information in the actual inbox of this partner. As you can imagine, that was not an easy task to look for information in there. And literally, with a couple keystrokes, we were able to help them with a system that almost the individual that had to do this broke down in tears, to the point that she could just see all of the time that she had spent and doesn't have to spend anymore. So I think about that all the time when it comes to this. So here's a visual that I like, is when we engage with organizations, I don't think they realize where all their information resides. Different databases and accounting programs and HR systems and cloud folder systems, like Dropbox and Google Drive, and different document management systems. When you really sit and think about where that information resides, it tends to grow much bigger than what you first think it starts out as.
Yeah, and here's my favorite image, and we're going back to that structured and unstructured information that we talked about a little bit earlier. So the structured information, again, is that organized information in databases. It's in rows and columns. It's easily accessible, and you can do a lot of different things with it, manipulate it, create reporting. What we want to do is marry that information, that good information, the customer information, your product information, with your unstructured information. So that's things like images, proposals, different drawings, really important information, but it's unstructured. And we want to put that in the middle and really create a system that works for you and creates a more efficient company.
Very good.
So yeah, and that's where we're talking about. We want to start using document management to create processes and use that information for processes instead of people always dealing with that information. So you can see here it's talking about, you have your sales, your product manager, manufacturer, and your finance and HR. And a lot of times they're using the same documents and they're putting them in many different places and using them from many different ways. And so it's hard to track that information and how it's being used and whether it's even the correct information.
We here at Function4, particularly over the last 6 months, we're really starting to dig into additional processes that maybe we didn't have automated already. And we've gotten down to the point is, are we relying on people or are we relying on a process? If you have really good people, that's great. And, in that time period, are they really great every day? Or can you build processes to rely on that help those people be more efficient? That's something that we've really tried hard to identify ourselves and then try to bring that thought process to our customers at the same time.
Yeah, so now this goes on to our next section. We're going to talk about process improvements. So we're going to be talking about avoiding manual data entry, automatic routing, compliance and audit trails, integration with legacy systems or software and one system of record. So we want to use all these different things to really create efficient workflows that help your company.
So here we've got some more statistics about challenges with documents, which is pretty interesting. And you've got one of the studies that we were able to find. Employees spend 10 to 25% of their time on repetitive computer tasks. I think everybody can shake their head to that. If you're managing contracts, the three biggest challenges that were identified in another survey, 53% say it's a challenge to get approvals in a timely manner. How are they managing the clause management in the documents themselves and the contracts? And then is there any workflow associated to it? What's the primary cause of wasted time during the workday? Is an inefficient process. I think we can all think of that. You know, what are some areas that we could improve? And then looking at the large picture here, you know, what are the most likely challenges that organizations are experiencing when reviewing or approving documents? Often need to have documents with a physical signature. I know there's a lot of companies changing over to Adobe Sign and DocuSign with people working remotely. The process to review and approve documents takes too long. Process to review and approve documents is too complicated. I'm always notified promptly when I'm required to approve something, or not always notified properly. And I cannot access documents and information to approve on a mobile device. Do you have the ability on mobile devices, particularly with people remote, to review and approve those in a timely manner?
Yeah, so again, we're going back to data entry challenges. You know, it consumes times, they're repetitive. I mean, I know we do some with our Salesforce ourselves, and you know, it's something that I'm always putting off, and Brad's always telling me I need to do better. It's open to human error. You know, when you're typing it in, you're looking at an invoice and you're going back and forth between one screen and another screen. A lot of times you just type in the wrong number, and those can lead to huge errors. And you know, you want to give your people fulfilling jobs and things they like to do. So you want to take away some of these repetitive challenges.
So this next slide talks about, you know, how we're capturing that information. So where are we getting it from? Is it coming from hard documents, from scanners and, you know, multifunctional devices? Is it coming from smart devices? Is it, you know, electronic files? Is it coming from servers? Is it cloud information? And then how are we able to process that? Are we able to share it effectively? Are we able to do that data extraction that we were talking about earlier? And can we initiate activities and processes to move that information into other groupware and collaboration platforms, document management systems, you know, into filing systems, or, you know, in some cases still faxing out information, or email services? Or do we want it to go into an open environment to where it's readily available to different sources at that time? This is how we want to look at this information to make it more effective.
Yeah, and so this is actually one of our internal workflows you're seeing here. It's mapped out. We started this workflow, we started building it out, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and there's about 4 nodes. And you can see now there's 20 plus, and there's all types of routing and approval processes. But what we're trying to show here is with these automated workflows, you can assign tasks, you can route information, you can create email alerts, you can have management notifications, you can have views that show where the productivity is at, how many, you know, cases has one person done. You can identify bottlenecks. So here you can see, if I go look at a view and I see everything's, you know, this order equipment, everything's backing up at order equipment. Why is that happening? Is that someone's on vacation and that process wasn't, that task wasn't given to someone else? What was the issue there? So you can really start to fine tune your workflows and build them out over time where they're much better, much more efficient, and help your company grow.
And this may look complicated, but with some of the applications that are available out there, it's really not. We do this for customers, obviously ourselves, but we've also trained customers that want to have the capabilities to do this themselves too. And one that comes to mind is an engineering group here in Houston. that we had an individual who championed the product, and he has all kinds of workflows and intricate workflows built out, and gets excited about doing those based on contract management and then approval processes and submittals, and then assigning tasks to different engineers throughout the organization too. So it's something that organizations can do themselves also.
Yeah, and so it's the benefits you get from those automated workflows. You're going to increase productivity. You're going to improve your data accuracy. You're going to be able to monitor progress, and you're going to be able to scale your operations and be more cost efficient. And that's what we really, our goal is help our customers and help our partners grow, and be scalable and easy to do that.
So now we're going to talk about how it relates to business intelligence and data mining. That appears to be the new buzzword or topic that we engage customers in discussions with all the time, is talking about how can you consolidate all your data into one source, identify key performance indicators for your organizations that are critical for you to make good decisions, real-time and accurate information to make relevant decisions. How timely can you get the best information to make those decisions? And then how can you automate those and create workflows based on that criteria that you've identified, and put those into a process to automatically start having action items for individuals based on those key performance indicators there too. And I think we have one more question here, Ross.
Yeah. Do you have any advanced reporting at your company currently?
So we know organizations are trying to build this out all the time, and there are ERPs that have modules to this. One of the most common questions we have is Power BI that comes with Office 365 at different levels. How can organizations take advantage of that? That's a really common question, and we did a webinar based on that earlier this year. That one of our engineers does a phenomenal job of helping build out Power BI for organizations that already have the tools.
All right, I'll close that out and share results. So about 43% do, so that's great, and 57% do not.
Very good. So here, the question always comes to, where do I start? Where can an organization start to move in this direction? And Ross and I were talking about this a lot, and he brought up good point, is you have to have those key performance indicators. What is that critical information that the organization needs to make those decisions in a particular area that they're trying to have benefit from this? Where is the origin of that information? Where is it coming from? Do you have it in a central place so that the information can talk to each other and communicate that information versus having to pull it from different resources? And then try to put that together yourself, either in spreadsheets or whiteboarding, whatever it may be. And are they connected to each other too? Create reporting of the value of information. So you got to identify it first, where it's coming from. Do you have it in a place that's easily organized? And then do you want to create reporting so that it's in an easy format versus people combing through spreadsheets to find that information?
Yeah, so back to one of my favorite slides, and we're talking about structured and unstructured information. Now, this can be really powerful once you start talking about your key performance indicators and looking for that information. So first off, you have to know where that information is, and then you want to start tying it together, and then you can start building really powerful reports. So let's say you're looking at, I want to go look at who my most profitable customer is. Well, then through that report, you can then, if it's linked to all your unstructured information, you can start saying, well, why are they so profitable? I want to look at our proposals, and I want to look at our invoices, and I want to really dig into this customer and find out what makes them the most profitable. Then you can go look at some of your least profitable customers, and you can say, well, what's the difference between these two customers, and why is this case, and what products are they buying, and what services are we providing to them? So when you're marrying the structured and unstructured report or information, and then building out these reports, you can really start to dig deep into your business and find out what makes it work.
And then we move to one of my favorite slides. So we talked earlier about all the different areas that you may have information residing, whether it be in ERPs or accounting programs or file folders or the cloud-based systems. Getting that information into a central place is critical to be able to pull useful reporting that you can use for your organization too. So being able to take all those different areas that you have there and organize those in a fashion that Power BI, may be able to give you the reporting you want. Or maybe you want some custom built reporting tools that give you the information that the organization could benefit from. Then the idea is, some people love spreadsheets, but typically when you're making presentations to a group or multiple sources need to look at that information, it's not always easy to understand what someone's trying to convey in spreadsheets. So being able to put those into easy reporting tools and pie charts and graphs and things like that to help trigger what some of the best decisions may be and be able to see the levels that are important on certain areas of the organization that are valuable.
And Brad doesn't really like this slide. He thinks it's goofy looking. It is a little cartoonish, but the information's great. So we're really talking about, again, a process again. And this is the process of business intelligence. And some of this is, is how we kind of wrap up this whole presentation. We're talking about finding that data and processing that data, using machine learning, AI statistics, using an analyst to go over it. Then you're reporting your findings, and then you're interpreting results, and then you're taking actions. What we're trying to help our customers do is have good information so they can make good decisions. You can't make a good decision unless you have good information. So that is really the key of the whole thing, is we want to help our customers make good decisions.
Now, I don't know anybody that looks that happy typing on their computer. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So once you do that, then what we're talking about here is being able to route the information through a potential approval process. So, creating the reporting, then maybe what you do is you set triggers in order to build out workflows that go to individuals for approvals. And then based on if they approve or reject after they reviewed the information, maybe it goes back to someone who's owning that process, who needs to provide additional information to make that decision that's critical for the organization too. So, we're taking from how do you organize it, how do you get it into a useful format, how do you create a process out of it, then pull the information that you've been able to identify out of the processes and create reporting tools to then potentially create a workflow for decision making at that point. So our goal was to keep it at about a half an hour. We know that is a ton of information to throw out all at one time, but the idea is to give you a little bit of a sense of the different areas that digital transformation can be beneficial to an organization, and then you determine where you're at in the process and what you could potentially benefit from. So that was the idea. We're obviously going to have further discussions. There's several people on this webcast right now I know that are in the middle of talking to us about different tools that we have here. There's several of you that have some of these tools, and there's many organizations that have a lot of the things available to them but just haven't utilized them yet. One of the things that I think about all the time that we've learned with organizations is Power BI through Microsoft, and our organizations looking into taking advantage of that tool and how do they take advantage of it to make good decisions too. So we strongly encourage some questions from the audience that we have here, and then we had some that we compiled that are pretty common when we're talking about these types of things. And Ross, what are tools necessary to accomplish what has been presented?
Yeah, there's tons of different tools you can use, but a lot of the tools like you talked about earlier, people already have. Most companies have Office 365, and that comes with a plethora of different tools. You have Power BI, you have SharePoint, you have OneDrive, you have Teams, you have all these different tools that you can start to really use and create some of this, these workflows. And then there's some other tools that once you've utilized what you already have, then you can kind of add to them to make them more efficient.
The next one is another very common one is we have SharePoint for no cost. How can we utilize it to accomplish what we're describing? So organizations are trying to build out their SharePoint more and more every day. We use SharePoint ourselves in some capacity also. The one challenge that you can have with SharePoint, it does create the potential, just like a file folder system that someone has on their own computers, is people can name things the way they want, and finding where stuff gets saved as that repository grows can be very challenging. There are tools that interact and can connect to SharePoint to help organize that information and be able to pull information that's already out there. So if you're an organization that's already started to use SharePoint and you want to find a way to have it be more useful, there are tools available that allow you to be able to do that. And then Ross, I know that this next one, how do I control information that's saved in email out there?
Well, you know, one of the reasons people save to email and save a lot of their information, just keeping it in their emails, because it's easy, right? You got it there. You don't have to move it anywhere. It's already there. You also get a lot of mobile access to your information when it's email. Everyone has their email on their phone. They can log into their email from any computer, any device. So what you want to do is make it easy. You want to give people an option that has mobile access to their information. You want to give them a way to save information easy out of your email. So you want tools that can integrate with your email, where you can just drag and drop it into a folder and start a workflow inside your email. Or you can search for information inside your email through a little pane. You know, you want to just make it easy for your employees to do the right thing.
Yeah. And then the last one that we see quite often is, what if we have a custom-built ERP system that has reporting? That is very common. In larger organizations in particular, there are reporting modules in those ERPs. The question that we always ask is there information outside of the ERP that's important to the organization also to make decisions? Typically, the answer is yes. So that's where we then investigate, even if it's custom built, is there an ability to pull out and extract information out of that ERP and then marry it with the unstructured data like Ross talked about earlier, to be able to give you full access to all the information needed to make decisions, not just what's created in the ERP. So that's something that we've done for organizations in the past too, is taking a deeper dive into that to see if it's beneficial. In some organizations, it's not. Some others, you know, quite frequently, they do have information outside of the ERP that would be useful.
And we got another question in. Do you have information to share on success stories? We have a lot of different success stories. If you go to our website, function4.com, go to resources, and there is a link to all of our customer stories. So feel free to go through. There's a bunch of different, I think we have, what, 15, 20 different success stories on there now. And they're all over all different aspects of our business. Some of them are on what we're talking about today. Some are on some of our other offerings. So yeah, feel free to look at our website.
Yeah, and it's pretty widespread. You know, we're often asked, do we focus on one industry? And really, it hasn't been one industry that could benefit from this. It spans from financial to legal to engineering and construction to manufacturing and medical. It really is just based on what the organization's trying to accomplish, because a lot of systems that are out there allow you to customize for the customer. So it's somewhat of an open architecture that allow you to attach the different types of databases and programs. And then when you create the reporting and the workflows, it really is specific to that organization and what they want to accomplish, and not just what the software allows you to do for particular industries too. So we're pretty proud of that the variety of customers that we have that have been able to benefit from this.
I think that wraps it up. Questions?
So good. So we kept our time frame good. We're obviously open to answer additional questions. So whether you reach out directly to Ross and I, which a lot of we know a lot of you directly, or to the individual, the solution advisor that you interact with on a regular basis, reach out to them, or feel free to get on our website. One of the things that we've done in the last 6 months is we've invested heavily into resources and information on our website, and we encourage you to go there and look up some information on your own. You know, if you don't want direct interaction with someone right away, we feel like we've put up quite a bit here in particularly the last 3 or 4 months for customers and organizations that may want additional information just for, you know, for educational purposes too. So we encourage that.
And there'll be a short survey pop up right after the webinar. So please fill that out and let us know how we did.
Yep, we always want to know what we can do better, how we can make this more useful, and not you know, sit through things, you know, just for the sake of doing it, because a lot of us are, you know, stuck, you know, being remote or in an office more than we have in the past. And our hope, like always, everybody's being safe, and the organizations are doing better. We get closer back to a normal environment, or adapt properly to what the new normal may be. So we appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.